Welcome to my channel. My name's Chance, and it's time to talk about some board games. Now, we're nearing the end of 2025 here, and I wanted to do a bit of a wrap-up video. I just want to talk about some of the games that I got to my table for the first time this year, and I am excited to get back to my table in 2026. Now, I'll mention that this list that I have, it's not ranked or anything like that. I literally just went through my games I got to my table for the first time, and said, hey, am I excited to play this again? Do I have a bit of an emotional response to this game? Like, do I remember this game fondly and just say, oh yeah, that one was awesome. I love playing with that group. I can't wait to get this one out again. So we're going to be going through a bunch of games that were just published in 2025, but also some older games that I just haven't got around to playing until this year. Now, before we get into this list, I do want to mention just board gaming in the broader context for myself. And that's the fact that I feel like I found a pretty solid gaming group. Like, I'm no longer just going to meetups at board game shops. I'm now going over to people's houses. Like, I'm hosting people at my house on a regular basis. And this is where I feel like this has helped elevate some of my board game experience. Having kind of that filtered group of people that I align a bit better with than just kind of meeting up with random people at the board game shops. Don't get me wrong, that's still great. That's still a great way to meet people, a great way to play new games. So, but when you get that group that you can kind of pick and choose the games you want to play a little bit more selectively. It's a nice change of pace. Now, I would say it took me about 3 years to get to this point, and you know, I'll mention that my board gaming group is not exactly perfect. There's still some issues that come up every now and again. If anyone I play with is watching this video, please know that I expect you to have some New Year's resolutions to improve your board gaming behavior. So yeah, we'll hopefully see that change as we get to the new year here. All joking aside, I do feel like it took a while to kind of get to this point. I'm curious, for those of you out there, have you guys reached this point? Are you guys still just going to meetups, or do you host people? Do you feel like you have a pretty solid board game group? How long did it take you to find that group of people? I feel like that's kind of one of those harder entry points, and this is where we can lose people in the hobby is maybe they don't have the best experiences going to those meetups. Maybe those people aren't welcoming. Maybe you run into someone that's a sore loser, and that kind of ruins your experience. And, you know, getting over that hurdle of just being able to find that group of people that you connect with it's a barrier to kind of becoming a long-term hobby board gamer, right? So for me, I would say 3 years. 3 years was how long it took me to find a pretty solid gaming group. Okay, now let's move on to the actual list here. Now, this unfortunately, this is just going to be a talking head video. I'm not going to find screenshots or whatever, or pictures of all the components of all these games. I'm talking about like 30 or 40 games here. So we're just going to have a picture of the box up in the corner somewhere, here, there, so yeah, wherever. And I'm going to start things off. We're going to break this into 3 different sections. The first section is going to be games published in 2025. That is going to be games that just came out this year. Maybe you've been watching them, maybe you're wondering if they're any good, and these are the ones that kind of stood out for me this year. And then we're going to go into games that I got played for the first time that were published earlier than 2025. Going all the way back to 2005, I believe, for one of the games. This is just going to be games that I got played for the first time myself in 2025. Then finally, we're going to close things out with games that I am excited about in 2026. Mostly the crowdfunding stuff that I'm hoping delivers that year. We'll see how that goes. Okay, with that being said, let's dive into this list. And like I said, we're going to be starting things off with the games published in 2025 that I was so excited about. I'm really excited to get these back to my table again. And we're starting strong. If you watch my channel, you know I've already talked about this one. This is going to be Nemesis Retaliation. This is the 3rd entry in the Nemesis series, and I think this is the best one yet. It is just absolutely phenomenal. It still has player elimination, so you know if that's been a turnoff for you for the Nemesis series, then you know that it is what it is. It still has it. It's one of those things where I'm like, can we remove this from the game? Like, I've questioned it. Can we take this out? Can we fix this by taking out player elimination? But that removes some of the tension of the game. I feel like that is there to add that tension to the game, which it's kind of an important component. So I don't know, maybe it just wouldn't be the same game without it. But the way Nemesis Retaliation works is that it still has that horror, sci-fi horror, alien theme going on. You're going to be going, but you're actually a squad of, you know, people that can actually do stuff this time. You're not just like, oh, these aliens are on our ship or they're on our base and we don't know anything about them and they're just like ripping us apart and we can't do anything in the game. This one says, hey, you guys are a squad. You are going in to do this mission, maybe to capture an alien egg or kill the queen or something like that. And you actually have weapons and you are loaded for bear, right? You are going in to take these aliens out. So I feel like in this game, it still has a lot of those nemesis components to it. It has a lot of that subterfuge. You have some of those conflicting objectives. It's still semi-cooperatively if you want it to be. You can still play it full cooperative, but the semi-co-op is where I think it shines. And it does a lot of the same things Nemesis does. It doesn't have as much opportunity for like subterfuge, and it is definitely missing some things from Nemesis and Nemesis Lockdown, but I feel like it took away a lot of the fluff and the bloat of those other games and just streamlined things, and also gave players a little more agency. That does remove some of that feeling of just hopelessness that I feel like you get with Nemesis Lockdown, but not everyone wants to feel hopeless while playing a board game. So Nemesis Retaliation gives you a little bit of hope, and you say, oh, maybe I can survive this. Maybe I can make it out. Whereas Lockdown, you play like 2 rounds, and you're like, I don't think anyone's surviving this. So yeah, Nemesis Retaliation, I could talk about this one forever. I got to do a full review of it once I get to play it a couple more times, but I think it's just a brilliant iteration on the Nemesis series. Next up, published in 2025, this can be Scales of Fate. This is a big hit for me. This is a 2-player game I've gotten played like 4 times in the past month already, which is a decent amount. Well, maybe in the past 2 weeks. And Scales of Fate is it's by IV Studios in the Veiled Fate universe. It's kind of like you're trying to align with these gods. You get aligned with, in the 2-player version, you both have a deck of the gods, and you select 2 of them, and those are the 2 that you're trying to get to score you victory points. Now, what's cool in Scales of Fate is that the 2 players could actually have the same gods. You could be going for the same set of gods to score well for you. And now the way you're going to be playing this game is you're going to be placing out these gods to activate these different areas of the board, to get these servants, to activate these ways to give either people points or to lose points on the board, and you're going to move the gods, the trackers of the gods on that board, and you're going to score one of 2 ways. Basically, if your 2 gods are on the exact same spot on the victory point track, you're going to score that many victory points. Or if they are separated on the victory point track, you're going to do the delta between the highest and lowest of your 2, and then you're going to score that delta. So it's a bit risky to try to get them on the same spot, because the other player clearly can see like, oh, if those 2 are on the same spot at like 8 points, you might get 8 points. So I need to make sure I separate them, because you're not controlling any one of the gods. You're controlling all the gods. So the other player can manipulate your gods, but they don't know which ones are yours. Then there's some cool stuff with the deduction, where at the end of every age, you get revealed a little bit of information. This is a very imperfect deduction game, but I feel like it gives you just enough to kind of be like, ooh, I think I found out who you are. And then it has this thing at the end where you can guess the other person's 2 gods. You score like 3 points if you guess both of them correctly. And this is the point where even getting that deduction wrong doesn't mean you lose the game. Like, I like the fact that you can get to the end of the game and you still have an opportunity to win if you haven't figured things out. And I feel like it is just a nice, very streamlined game, very fast to play. So like I said, I played about 4 times, and we don't even need the rulebook anymore. It's super easy to pull out, super easy to set up, and yeah, it's a very streamlined little 2-player head-to-head slight social deduction game. I'm having a blast with it. Can't wait to play it more. Next up, published in 2025, this is going to be The Battle of the Divas. This is a salt and pepper game that I really like salt and pepper games. I feel like all of them aren't amazing, but I have a good time with them. They do a good job on the production. They make games look nice. They also do some interesting themes. Like I started with Resist. That was my first salt and pepper game. But then I played like The Hunt, which is that cat and mouse game, hunting the submarines, the German submarine or whatever. And then we have Conservus, which is the fishing one, the solo fishing one. Then I have Witchcraft, which is the follow-up to Resist. I just am backing Queen of Spies on GameFound. That's one I'm excited to get. So Salt and Pepper does a really good job, and I feel like Battle of the Divas is just it's a unique theme. It's a head-to-head game again. 2 players, 1 person's playing. I can't remember the name of the divas. I should, but oh well. And basically, you're competing over these different concert venues. You're trying to like send these notes down from the piano. You're trying to like expand your range, which is like the tessitura or whatever, like it's your vocal range that you have available to you to create new notes, and then you're going to send those notes down to those operas, score some victory points. But it's kind of like, it's a little bit of a lane battle where you're both going to be moving up your scoring track at that opera, but then one person gets to decide to kind of like close that opera, and then you're both going to score points for that opera. It has this cool tension in it. And then it has this interesting little timeline track thing going on where you can put out events in the divas' lives, which are real historical events that happen, but you're going to score based on those at the end of the game. Overall, just a really cool theme with a nice mix of mechanics that I'm really enjoying playing. I got to play it, I think, twice so far. Next up, published in 2025, is 23 Knives. Now, this is now my #1 social deduction game. Like, I am absolutely loving it. This is one where you start out with kind of an alignment, and it's around that theme of trying to kill Caesar, or well, trying to or trying not to. Basically, you're either going to be on the side of killing Caesar or on the side of not killing Caesar. And whichever way the game goes, you want to have the most alignment on that side. So whoever has the most alignment on killing Caesar, and if Caesar dies, they win the game. Pretty straightforward. But essentially, throughout the game, players are going to be swaying you with these cards, with these alignment cards. You're not necessarily in control of your own alignment. So other players are going to be like, oh, I'm going to sway you with this. And it's kind of cool because you are literally swaying that person towards that side. It's like, oh, that person was like, oh, I wanted to kill Caesar, but you just gave me this card and now I kind of want Caesar to live. So it has a very fluid like alignment roles that you have in there, which is very different than other social deduction games. I will admit that maybe you don't have as much control as you might want, but I just enjoy the gameplay, even though it's very hard to figure out what anyone's alignment is by the end of the game. I just have a blast playing this game. I feel like it's a really fun social game. It does drag a little bit towards the end. I want to call it, there's exiling and shaming, but nothing's bad. It kind of has like a cosmic encounter thing with the character cards where you get a special power with your character, which is just phenomenal. Overall, like I said, it is just a fun game to play. If you like want to win, if you're like hoping, if you're like, oh, I want to go in and have a strategic game, 23 Knives is not for you. If you just want to have a fun experience around the table, I played this one at, I think, 6 and 7 players, or 5 and 6 players. Yeah, I played it at 5 and 6. And I thought it was amazing. I just really, really enjoyed 23 Knives. All right, next up, 2025 Regicide Legacy. I absolutely love Regicide. I think it's one of the best uses of a box of cards that you can have now. Like, just get a box of cards, download the rules, play Regicide Legacy, or support Sketch Goblin and Badger from Mars and buy the Regicide version. But as far as legacy games go, Regicide Legacy is probably my favorite. I feel like they do a great job of balancing the rules overhead associated with a legacy style game and the gameplay experience. Like generally sometimes when I play legacy games, I enter that next campaign session. I'm like, oh, I gotta learn so much before we can play this game. Like we gotta do like this half-hour setup thing. Well, Regicide Legacy, I feel like it takes us maybe like 5 minutes once we open up a new box and we're like, oh, hey, that's how we play it. And then we go through and it changes up the mechanics in unique and interesting ways. I will mention that it doesn't play as fast as, a standard game of Regicide as you go through that campaign. Like things get longer, you got to do a little more shuffling, you got to add some cards, take out some cards. It definitely adds some time to this simple Regicide game, but I feel like all the changes they made they're just phenomenal. Like I've had a great time with every scenario that we played so far. It has a really cool system where if you lose, you can earn coins to hire mercenaries to basically power up your deck to make it a little easier to win next time. Just a fantastic design from Badgers from Mars, and I'm excited. I'm about 10 sessions through, I think it's like 12 or 14 or so. So most of the way through Regicide Legacy. I'll do a full review of it once I complete the thing, but I so far highly recommend it. Yeah. Next up for 2025, this is going to be Alibis. So Alibis is one of those small box games from Allplay. I played this from 3 to 6 players, and I think this is probably my favorite word game. Like this is better. I like it more than Codenames. I like it more than Just One. I like whatever else is out there. I think Alibis is the one that I would choose. This one's cool because you're basically trying to find the perpetrator. You throw out a bunch of suspect cards, and then you throw a word card on each one of those suspects. Then everybody gets dealt 2 suspect cards, and those are the people that have alibis for them. And basically, you're going to look at the 2 words associated with your 2 suspects, and you're going to try to create a word to link those 2 words. And then you reveal that to everybody, and those people are going to try to guess who your suspects are. And essentially, everyone's going to do this simultaneously, and you're going to try to all find out who the perpetrator is. Now, there's different scoring criteria. It has a very abstract scoring system. It's kind of like, oh, if you found the perp, you like remove 3 heat or something. I don't know. You have like a scoring pool, and you're just trying to reduce the scoring pool. Very abstracted. I like just playing it. Like it's just fun to play. We do 3 rounds, and it's just a blast. And I feel like this fixes one of those problems I have in games like Codenames, where I call it kind of the spotlight effect. Like one player has to do something different than the other players, and that can be stressful for people, especially if you're introducing a game to a group of people. Like I've definitely been early on in my gaming, and like Codenames would come out. I'm like, please don't choose me to be the clue giver. I don't want to be the clue giver, and they get chosen. I'm like, oh no, I'm so stressed now. Like I feel like that can just be a hard place for some people. Whereas Alibis is one where you're doing kind of something similar to Codenames, but everyone's doing the exact same thing. So yeah, because of that, I think it just works better. It's going to hit more for every group because it's not as stressful. It's kind of like we're all struggling with our own, like we're struggling with the same puzzle. Only downside to this one is that I feel like the word combinations, some people can kind of get way harder words than other people. So yeah, that's the only thing that can kind of go wrong in Alibis. But overall, fantastic game. Next up, another one from All Play here, and this is going to be Slambo. This is a surprise hit for me. I actually have a friend that picked the copy of this up for his wedding because he was having a lot of family come in town and they like playing card games, and Slambo was played, I guess, nonstop by his family members that weekend. Overall, I really like this. Is probably one of my favorite filler games right now. I think I have one that I'll probably call it again later that I also played in 2025, but Slambo is the one that really just hits my table quite often, like at the end of the night or something, or maybe at the beginning of the night if we're waiting on some people. This is it's sumo themed basically, but you're gonna have a card in the center that is a number 5. Then players are gonna be dealt a hand of cards that have plus and minuses on them, and basically all you do on your turn is you're gonna play a card, and it's gonna be like a -4. So you're gonna be like, oh, it started at 5, -4, we're now at 1. And basically you're trying to keep that center value between 0 and 10. Once someone goes beyond that, they are out of the ring and they get shamed. And then the first person to 3 shame loses. And this is a 1 loser game, which is also fantastic. I love 1 loser games. So it's a great little filler, great little card game. It's super easy to teach, super easy to table, and comes in a tiny little box. Slambo it's phenomenal. All Play did a great job with it. I'm surprised how much I enjoy Slambo. Next up for 2025, we got Line of Fire, Burnt Moon. So this is the lane battler version of Undaunted. I don't know why they didn't put Undaunted in the title because it is basically Undaunted. They took out a couple things like the dice rolling for combat, and they took out the tokens to represent units. Now it's just the cards do everything in the game. Basically, you're going to be battling over these lanes, and you're going to be putting out these units to try to control those lanes. First one to control, like, I think 8 points worth of lanes is going to win the game, or the first person to eliminate the other person's, like, I think Moss units or something, is going to win the game. Now, overall, though, I like this because this is a smaller package for the Undaunted series. I played Undaunted Stalingrad, and I recently got Undaunted Callisto, which Undaunted Callisto, I will admit, is not on my 2025 list yet. I played it twice. I do really like Undaunted Callisto. I think I put Line of Fire on here, though, just because I feel like I like that smaller package more. Although there is some stuff in Undaunted Callisto that I really enjoy, like the fact that you have a little more of a 3D element. You can get like advantage dice for being higher than the other player, or disadvantage dice for being lower. I think they did some really cool changes in Undaunted Callisto, and I'll admit that I'm more excited to revisit Undaunted Callisto right now. It's just Line of Fire is the one that stood out as kind of an unexpected one that I really, really enjoyed. Like my friend and I, we like taking this one out to a brewery, and this will be one of our go-to games to play at a brewery, because it's just more portable than something like a Undaunted Callisto. So that's Line of Fire, Burnt Moon. Brings out kind of that full Undaunted experience. I will admit that due to the deterministic nature of battle, like you're no longer doing the dice rolling, it can definitely, you can get into a more stalemate-y situation. So the game can drag a little bit. That's the only downside I've had with it. Like some games can take 20 minutes, other games can take like 45 minutes. And that variability can be a bit of a problem, especially if you were trying to like say, hey, this is going to take 30, and it's like we're dragging this on now to 45 and it's still going, okay. But overall, I do really, really like Line of Fire. Next up for 2025, this one I got played really early in the year, and this is going to be Perch. Perch is just a crazy little area control game where you're playing as these birds and you're trying to take over these different location tiles with your birds. Whoever has a majority of the location tile is going to control that tile, and they're going to score the points on it for being in first place or whatever. But the tiles are crazy because they have 3 different point values on them: first, second, and third. It's not always first that's going to score the most points. Sometimes it's second that's going to score the most. Sometimes it's third that's going to score the most points. So you really don't know what place you want to, well, you know what place you want to be in, but it's hard to be in that place. And this is one of those games where it has all ties cancel. So if there's a person tied for first, or 2 people tied for first there, they get nothing. It's just first and second place are gone. They don't score anything. Only third place scores. So that's one of those ways. And the way this game works is that you're always going to have at least 2 of your own birds per round to place. But you're also going to be drawing birds from this bag, and you're going to randomly get these other birds. They might be your birds. They might be other people's birds. And you're going to actually be placing other people's birds on these tiles during the game, which is just awesome because that's how you can control those ties. You basically take these birds. You're like, I'm going to put you over there and tie you for first place over there, which means you get nothing for that tile. Then there's other special tiles in there. You can take control of like these animals in the game, which will allow you to like manipulate the birds on the board, maybe send birds to this fountain, which is a whole nother scoring thing. Just this is one of those games where I read the rules and I was like, ooh, I don't know if my friends are gonna like this. I don't know if they're gonna like other people placing their birds. But every time I've played it, I have had a blast. It has been a laugh. It's been a hoot. Hoot. Hey, there's a bird pun. Nailed it. So yeah, that is Perch. Perch, I'm really enjoying as a nice little chaotic area control game. A pretty easy rule set. I would say some ambiguity in some things that I wish were a little more clear, especially with some of those special power tiles. But for the most part, I've gotten pretty good at just kind of making up rules on the fly. So we get through it pretty pretty fast. Another one that I played really early in the year, we're moving on to another 2025 title, last one on my list here. This is going to be Eternal Decks. So Eternal Decks, this has made my top 10 co-op games. This has made I think it's in my top 10 games of all time right now. I am having a blast playing Eternal Decks. This is a fantastic co-op game where each player starts out with a hand of cards, and you're basically playing these into these rows to try to complete these rows. The rows have basically placement rules on them for like color and number orders they have to do with them. And once you complete a row, that's how you get a new deck. You're going to add that deck to your deck that you already have, or maybe you don't have one because you're running low on cards. But essentially, if any player runs out of cards, you lose the game. There's some other loss conditions in there, but essentially you're just trying to achieve the scenario conditions to get to that victory. There's these cool Eternals that you revive, you put them up there, you get a little curse that's gonna put more limitations on what you can play, and it just has a really cool set of mechanics in it that I'm really enjoying. And then the scenario book in there, this kind of reminds me of Regicide Legacy a little bit, where it just does some phenomenal changes to the rules of the game. Like it adds these little new details, maybe not so little, some of them are a little bigger, but overall it adds these new little like puzzles that you have to solve in there. And they're just super unique and they're super interesting. They change up the game in fun and interesting ways. And I am loving playing Eternal Decks. Okay. That was the end of the 2025 section. I need a drink of coffee. Now we're moving into a speed round of, this is going to be games published before 2025 that I got played for the first time. I'm going to do this in order of year published. We're going to start with 2024 and work our way backwards. And these ones I'll talk about probably a little bit less than the 2025 games because I got probably about 20 of them on here. So we're just going to mention them, move on, you know? Okay, starting things off. Published in 2024, Neon Rain. This game is a surprise hit. This is a dueling game, and it is based on like an arcade battle where basically you have these button and joystick cards in your hand. Both players have the same deck of cards, but you have an asymmetric character ability, and basically you're going to play these joystick and button cards trying to trigger these combos, and those combos are going to do things like bonus damage or heal you. It definitely, if you get into it, it definitely has that arcade feel where you're like, oh, I'm doing right BB, or up, down, and like you're doing these little sequence of combos to trigger these other combos and stuff and get bonuses. I am loving playing Neon Rain. I think it is an underrated gem for a two-player dueling genre game. Next up, 2024, Tether. Tether is a really cool little abstract game where you have these astronauts, and those cards, they remind me of Scout, if you played Scout. They have two numbers on them. They have a top number and a bottom number. If you flip it over, the numbers flip. Basically a 13, if you flip it over, it becomes a 31, right? And the way you're trying to do this is one player, it's generally a two-player game as well. Again, this is going to be one player is playing on the horizontals, and one player is playing on the verticals. So you're trying to create consecutive number sequences in one of those two directions. So if you're playing on the horizontals, you're trying to play consecutive numbers in the horizontals. Now, what's going to happen though is other players can play on your sequences, so they can use your cards to build their own sequences. And this creates a really crunchy brain teaser kind of puzzle out on the board, because you're just throwing down piles of cards in different locations and trying to build off those, or maybe connect up these other ones. Because once you reach a certain size, once you reach a certain number of cards in one of those sections or whatever, you're just going to score that section, and it's going to score based on the length and width. So the person on the horizontal is going to score on the width of that. So how many cards did you get in the width? And then the person in the vertical is going to score on like the height of it, right? So it's kind of cool where you're trying to control which ones score, and you're trying to like avoid giving the other person too many points and scoring like the ones that they want to score. Really cool puzzle. I like Tether quite a bit. Another one for 2024. Defenders of the Wild. This is one that I was debating on picking up for quite a while. I decided finally to pick it up on some store credit that I had. It was one of those games where I was like, I don't know if I want this game. And then I had store credit, and it was the only one that kind of stood out to me. And I was like, fine, I'll give it a shot. I picked it up over my injury. I played it solo once, and I was like, oh, wow, this is really good. And then I played it 3 players, and yeah, I still really enjoyed this. This reminds me a little bit of Spirit Island. It has more of it's kind of like a deterministic AI action deck, which I really like. It kind of, you understand how everything's going to move. You have a very deterministic controlled procedure. So definitely gives me Spirit Island vibes with a much more simpler rule set for the players. You still have some asymmetry on what the players can do, but for the most part, you guys are all doing kind of the same thing, but you're really trying to, yeah, you're trying to put out fires on this map. It has this really cool system of building these factories and having these things spawn on the factories, and it becomes really tense, really, it's really hard. It's a really hard game. I think I played it like 3 times now, and I've come nowhere close to winning yet. It is a very, very challenging puzzle, so not an easy co-op game at all, but I really want to play this one more. A much easier co-op game, also published in 2024, this is going to be Bomb Busters. If you are in hobby board gaming at all, you have probably heard of this game. This is just a phenomenal co-op deduction game. You're going to get a set of wires that are going to go in your little wire rack stand with the numbers facing you, and then every other player is going to have their own little stand, and you're basically trying to like identify wires in other people's stands that match your wires so you can cut them. If you have a 12, you want to point to someone's and be like, is that a 12? If they're both 12s, hey, you cut that wire. Now, as the game progresses, you're going to unlock more scenarios. You're going to add like yellow wires and red wires, and you want to have you don't want to have too many failures. If you say, oh, is that a 12? And they're like, nope, then hey, you got to tick down the timer a little bit. Or if you cut a red wire, hey, bomb exploded. Sorry, try again. But there's a lot of scenarios in the box, I believe like 66 missions or so. So a lot of variety, and I've played, I don't know, maybe like 10 or a dozen of them so far, and it's always just a blast to play. It is one of my favorite games of the year. Definitely one that I want to get back to the table and work through more of those scenarios. Next up, another one in 2024. That's going to be Agent Avenue. So I got this one earlier this year, and this is another fantastic 2-player one. I love I Split You Choose. Agent Avenue is I Split You Choose one where you're going to place a card face up and one card face down. The other player has to select one of those cards. And you're working around the circular track. You're basically trying to catch the other person, so they know how far behind you are. They know what the card like distribution of the deck is. They know how many are in there and how far you could possibly move with those cards that you put down. So you're taking those risks and you're saying, oh, can I let you have that face down card? If that face down card is this specific card, I think you're going to win. So sometimes you have to take that face down card just to stop that other person winning. And I love I Split You Choose. So Agent Avenue is just it's a fantastic game. I really want to try out that expansion next year. I'm looking forward to that one. Next up, another one, 2024. This is going to be Dune War for Arrakis. So I got this one earlier this year as well, and I think this is my most played, like, big, like, heavy 2-player game. I played War of the Ring twice this year, but I think Dune War for Arrakis I've gotten played, I think, 5 times since I got it in, I think I got it in, like, February, which is just crazy to me. Like, it's crazy that I got the game played that much for a big, heavy war game. But I will say, like, once you know how to play it, I feel like players can take, you know, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but overall, that's shorter than War of the Ring, which I feel like can take somewhere between 3 and, I don't know, 5 hours, depending on how much looking up you're doing in the rulebook. Same thing for Star Wars Rebellion, where you're pushing probably 2 to 3 hours or so. So Dune War for Arrakis gives me a lot of that experience of that really, really heavy, really strategic 2-player game, but in a shorter time frame with an easier rules to teach. And now that I played it like, you know, 5 times, I feel like I don't need the rulebook as much, which is nice. Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. We'll talk about that one again as we talk about what I'm looking forward to in the future. We're finally into 2023. 2023, Dracula vs. Van Helsing. I love this game. I forget who, someone recommended this to me on one of my reviews. I forget exactly which one. I think it was Naishi. I think they recommended my Naishi review. They said, hey, you should check out this game. And I was like, you know what? I heard of that game. It didn't like stand out to me, but they said I might enjoy it. And I was like, fine, I'm going to get it. Love it. I think this is a fantastic lane battler. It's probably one of my favorites, up there with Line of Fire. Like, I think it's kind of a trick taker. You use these tiles. I feel like the tiles are stupid. I feel like they could have used cards. But you use these tiles and you're trying to, like, Dracula is trying to convert citizens to vampires and Van Helsing is trying to prevent it or whatever. Overall, just, it's really good. It's really hard to win as Dracula, but I think it's a lot of fun. I have a blast with this game. I love the set of mechanics and super easy to play. Well, very strategic, but easy rule set. Next up, 2023, Earthborn Rangers. This is a big one that I want to do a review on. I am 7 to 9 sessions in, I forget. I think I've been playing it a little bit here and there. I haven't gotten it played recently, like this last month. I haven't been able to get it back to my table. Probably my fault. It's not that hard to get out. That's one of the reasons I like it, though. It's really easy to set up, and it's a chill game that I am very engaged in. I usually don't like chill style games. You know, I don't want to use the word cozy. I'm not going to say cozy. It's very chill. It's very, it's kind of like going out and hiking in the woods. It's like you're flipping over these cards. You're like, oh, hey, look at that cool creature. Oh, hey, look at that neat plant life. Oh, what can I do with that? How can I interact with that? What happens if I interact with this thing over here? How do I get to this next zone? Oh, I got this little quest that I'm going on. It's a little sandboxy. Overall, I am really liking Earthborn Rangers. I feel like because it's easier to set up than a lot of my bigger solo games, it's going to hit my table more often next year than a lot of my other ones, like, you know, Oathsworn back here. Okay. Another 2023 game that I played earlier this year, this is going to be Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. Now, this is a co-op trick taker. I got this one as a follow-up to Sail. Like, I played Sail last year with a friend, and we finished that one off, and we're like, oh, we're looking for another game, and I heard about this game, so I was like, you know what? I'll get this one. And this is the one we played earlier in the year, and I would say it started off a little rocky. Not the best intro scenarios. I feel like the intro scenarios were super boring, and I was like, oh, there's not really much of a game here. But I think after we got to like chapter 4, after we got through the first 3 and we're on chapter 4, then it turned into a real game, and I was like, oh, there's some depth to this. There's some strategy here. This is a really cool one where you're playing this trick taker, but at the beginning of the round, you are actually selecting cards to throw into Scotland Yard's deck. So Scotland Yard is kind of like this AI third player that's just going to flip over a random card. You gotta fight that. Like you gotta plan for it. You gotta predict what you think is in there. So basically you're gonna select 4 cards from your hand, put them in that deck. The other player is also gonna select 4 and you're gonna shuffle them up. So you know what half of Scotland Yard's deck is. But you also know, like, as you play the game more, you learn what the other player is doing. You learn the cards that you think they're gonna be putting in. So you can see like, oh, I have these cards, so that means they probably have those cards. There's gonna be some cards out of the game, so you don't have perfect information. But it adds a lot of randomness. But I feel like it gives you a lot of ways to control that randomness by selecting those cards and having these potions that can change up the game. Overall, I absolutely love this as a co-op trick taker. A lot more difficult than, actually I think I had a lot more of a challenge than Sail, and much harder than something like The Crew. And I will mention in my review, I think I called out like chapter 8, I think is broken, like the wording is wrong. It's like impossible to win. I've tried getting feedback on BGG, but no response yet. But other than that one hiccup there, I have thoroughly loved my time with Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. Another 2023 title that I got played, or that I bought this year, this is going to be Droll Polter. Droll Polter is an oink game. This is just a nice little dexterity game where you're going to have like these 5 items that you put in your hand, then you're going to flip over a card and it's going to tell you what items to drop. And everyone is trying to do that real time. You're just trying to drop those items and grab this ghost in the center of the table, which allows you to take a bell as a scoring point. But that bell has to go in your hand. If you drop that bell for any reason, yeah, you lost that point. So as the game goes on, you're trying to get to 5 points. You're trying to get to 5 bells. So as you get more bells in your hand, it gets harder and harder and slows you down unless the other players catch up. It's just a blast. It's a nice little filler. I really like it. I think I called out in my past videos is that the one downside is that, hand size kind of matters. So, playing with generally as a general reference here, like men and women, men tend to have larger hands, so women can feel like they're at a bit of a disadvantage in that game. So that's the only downside, but I feel like it's just a laugh. Like, it is a joy to play. So that's Droll Polter. Okay, we're getting through this. Now we're into 2022. This one's going to be Votes for Women. Votes for Women is a Fort Circle Games. Yes, Fort Circle Games. And this is I really, really like this game. You are basically competing over the states. One of you is playing as the suffragist, one of you is playing as the anti-suffragist, and you're going to be basically putting down these influence cubes in the states. Basically, you have these like campaigners going out to try to change or sway the different states towards one side of the election or whatever, one side of the ballot measure. And it's a tug of war in all of the states. Like, you have 50 states, or well, 48 or whatever, that you're doing tug of war in. And it's really cool that you're kind of competing over these things. It's basically a card-driven game. Most of your cards have an event on them. You can play them for their event, or you can play them as like a campaigning action or something. There's a couple different actions. Overall, super short rulebook. It's like 3 or 4 pages. Really easy to table. Now, I will call out that one thing that people may not enjoy is kind of the randomness that you get, because essentially at a certain point, like, you're trying to, I think the suffragists are trying to get oh man, I'm forgetting my history. 19th Amendment? That sounds right. You're trying to get it sent to the states. So to get it ratified by the states. Once they manage to get it sent to the states by going to the Senate or whatever, then they're trying to get at least 4 cubes in a state to get it ratified or denied or whatever. And then you start putting check marks and X's down. But once you reach the end of the game, if someone has not won it by the end of the game, you basically go through this whole roll-off sequence. You go through every state and you say, hey, we're rolling off here. You roll a die, you add in the supporters you have to your die result, and whoever has the higher result wins that state. And I think this is just a phenomenal end to the game. Like, you are building up to kind of push probability in your favor at the end of the game, and then you're just going through and you're saying, hey, we're rolling in this state, roll off, this state, roll off. And while that can be annoying to some people, while that can be a lot of randomness, I feel like I just have a blast building up to that moment and then getting to that point of being like, oh, can I win this now? Can I win this in this roll, this kind of random roll off at the end? Yeah, great time with votes for women. Another 2022 title, this is going to be Tribes of the Wind. Now, this is one that a friend picked up at super cheap at Barnes & Noble, I think. And this is one where you are going to be taking actions on your cards based on the backs of the other people's cards. Like you can see the suits of the cards on the back, and basically a lot of your actions are going to trigger off what other people have around you. I really like that style of interaction. Now, I feel like there is a little bit of wonkiness to Tribes of the Wind. You can get dealt some bad hands. There are some ways to mitigate that with like building these temples, and for the most part, you're kind of playing your own game. You have your own little solitaire puzzle going on, but your actions are limited by what the other players have, what the other suits are on the backs of their cards. And it's really fun to kind of be like, oh, they have too much fire right now, so I don't want to draw this fire card because they're going to be able to do this other thing based on, they're probably going to be able to take more actions if I have any fire cards, so I'm going to try to limit this. And also, if I have this fire card, I probably won't be able to take the powerful action on it because they're going to prevent me from doing that by having those cards in their hand. I think it's just really cool that it kind of forces you to watch what other people have, what is in other people's hands. Even though you have your own solitaire puzzle, it does bring you back to the table. It does keep you focused on what other people are doing. So I appreciate that in the game. I really enjoyed Tribes of the Wind. Another 2022 title that made it into my top 10. This is going to be Wizards of the Grimoire. This is another dueling game that I absolutely love. Now, I call out Line of Fire it can drag on a little bit. You know, it can go 20 minutes, 45 minutes. Very, very wild game length. Whereas Wizards of the Grimoire, because there is no healing in the game, because it is just it's like constantly marching towards the conclusion of the game, you are drafting these spell cards from the center tableau, and you're just trying to take your opponent from 60 health down to 0 health. And yeah, like I said, there's no way to heal, and you can always do generally like at least 1 damage. You're probably going to do somewhere between, I don't know, 2 and 6 damage per turn or something. So maybe the game is going to take you about 10 turns to win. I think somewhere between like 8 and, let's say 12 at the long end. But essentially, like the game has almost like a fixed length, and you're just trying to eke out a slight advantage over your opponent over drafting those cards. And the way you draft those cards, they're just, each one has its own slight advantage, but then the more powerful spells cost more mana to cast. And then once it's your turn, you have to do this cooldown phase where you got to remove 1 mana from every one of your spells. And if a spell still has mana on it, then you can't cast that spell. So you have to manage this timing of those spells and when they cool down, when you can activate spells, when you can get spells to synergize with each other. Just a brilliant design. I really, really enjoy Wizards of the Grimoire. Another 2022 title, and this is going to be Wandering Towers. This is a much lighter game. It is a race game where people are trying to get their wizards around this circular board into the Raven's Keep, but it's really cool because you're going to have these towers that you can lift up, and there are these 3D components where you can move them and you can cover up other people's wizards. And it adds in like this little memory element because other players got to be like, oh, well, I want to move this tower to get my wizard back, but oh, what level is my wizard under? Where is my wizard? Oh, crap. I think I might have lost my wizard. It's a game that I'm terrible at because I can never remember where my wizards are, but I think it's a fantastic one. It'll probably show up in my like top 10 family game recommendations because I think it's just a blast. Now we're moving into 2021. We got one 2021 title. This is going to be Ankh, Gods of Egypt. Also showed up in my top 10 list. I absolutely love this one. I think this is now my favorite in the Eric Lang trilogy. I think Blood Rage is still like the easiest one to table, easiest one to play. But Ankh, I feel like has a really cool set of mechanisms. I love the action selection board. I love the combat with the battle resolution order, the combat system using kind of that Concordia hand management system or Aquatica hand management, whatever you want to call it. It's just a great game. Like it's really easy to teach. It's actually easier to teach than I would have expected. I got some upgraded components, so I am always excited to get that one back to the table, and I can't wait to play it again in 2026. Next up, 2020, another never heavy combat game. This is going to be Cosmic Frog. This is one that I was a little concerned about getting out to the table, and you know, rightly so. First time I got to the table, I feel like 2 out of the 4 of us really enjoyed it. The other 2, not so much, but also it was my first time playing it. I felt like my teach wasn't the best. I didn't get people in the mood to play Cosmic Frog, you know. So I had to really up my teach on the second time I got to play it. Second time, I felt like it landed way better. I had a blast playing it, and I cannot wait to play the Find the Muck expansion with the mental combat or psychic combat in there. Yeah. So Cosmic Frog, definitely a take that game though. So if your group doesn't enjoy take that, not going to enjoy Cosmic Frog. Next up, a 2018 title. This is going to be Treasure Island. This was a surprise hit for me. One of my friends picked this one up. I was looking at it for a while, and he was like, I finally bought it. And I was like, cool, I'm willing to try it. This is a one versus many game. Essentially, you have what is it, like Long John Silver or something? You secretly hide their treasure, and then all the other players are going out to find that treasure. The first person to find it wins the game. Now, this one has something kind of like mind management, where it's instead of one versus all, it's one versus many, and you're doing this like deduction game of trying to find this thing on the map. But it kind of fixes a problem I have with mind management, where I feel like mind management is really good at 2 players, could be good at 3 if those 2 players that are on the same side are kind of on the same page and they're willing to work together and stuff. But I feel like anytime you have a little bit of conflict in how to pursue the strategy in mind management, it creates tension on that other side, and that's not as fun, right? Whereas Treasure Island, everyone's on their own. And it's like, oh, hey, it's a one versus many. Everyone's on your own. You're doing your own deduction puzzle, and you're kind of semi-cooperative because you don't want the one to win, because you might want to communicate some information to the other players to be like, I really don't want them to win, so I want us to win. I would like to be me. I'll trade information with you if you trade information with me. So it has this cool system where it avoids kind of that conflict of that weird kind of co-op, like perfect synergy that you kind of need in some of those hidden movement games. So yeah, that's Treasure Island. Next up, 2017. I talked about this one earlier in the year, Paku Paku. This is one of my favorite filler games. Slambo has been hitting my table more than Paku Paku recently, but Paku Paku, real-time dice rolling game with a little dexterity element, fantastic one to just pull out. Great family game. I love it. 2016 publication. Now this is one I just got played this weekend, and this is going to be Adrenaline. Adrenaline I got as a Xmas gift for my friend. We did a little Xmas swap. I got Nexus Ops, which, by the way, I really like Nexus Ops. I cannot wait to play that again. It has some cool standout stuff. But Adrenaline stood out to me as just something just wholly unique. I've played nothing else like it. I can't believe that I haven't heard of this game. It's trying to represent a first-person shooter, and I thought the weapon design in this game was it was phenomenal. Like, I picked up, like, we were constantly training weapons towards the end. I picked up, like, a cyber blade, and I was, like, hitting someone with my cyber blade, then I'd run into another room and hit someone else with my cyber blade. Then someone else had, like, a tractor beam. They would, like, tractor someone into their space and then shoot them with a shotgun. Like, just fantastic representation of the first-person shooter experience. I had a blast. I can't wait to play that one again. Then lastly, 2005 publication. This is going to be a big 2-player game. This is Twilight Struggle. I finally got this played. This is that big one that it's been in the top 100 for ages on BGG. One of those games that I was a little hesitant to play. I was like, this is older. I don't know how this is going to land for me or whatever. We'll see. But it gave me kind of Votes for Women's vibes. After I played it, Votes for Women's much newer, but it gave me kind of that style. We're doing a little bit of kind of the tug of war in each one of the countries out there. Like, we're competing over this large swath of the map. But what's cool is that you have these scoring cards that you can play when you are kind of have that advantage in that country, and you can try to win the game. And there's this cool system of, like, you have these outright win conditions, but you can also get to the very end of the game, and then whoever's on one side of the board will win the game. It's a really, really phenomenal system. I had a way better time with Twilight Struggle than I ever expected, especially for a historical war game, which I usually don't connect with as much. But I thought just the game system, the mechanics behind it, the way the scoring worked, the way the cards worked, the fact that we had this shared deck where we were drawing our good things, but also the other person's good things. And sometimes you'd be forced to play an event that helped the other player just so you could get the action points. I thought it was just a really, really cool design that I am really excited to play some more. There we go. We have made it through my giant list of games that I loved in 2025, and I'm sorry, but we got a little bit more to do. I got to talk about some of the games that I'm excited about. Now, this video is going on for a little while, but I like to ramble. It happens, but hopefully you're finding some games that are interesting here. And now we're going to get into some games that I have just recently acquired or will hopefully be acquiring next year. Yeah, let's do it. So games I'm excited to play. I got 2 that are in my collection right now. This is going to be Clans of Caledonia. This one just delivered maybe a month or 2 ago, and I am very excited to play this. It's compared to Terra Mystica. Now, I haven't played Terra Mystica, but I played Gaia Project. But now, Clans of Caledonia has some cool stuff with, like, player positioning, and, like, you got to, like, take things off the board, like slaughtering your animals to gain meat or whatever, and you're doing these deliveries. It has a very dynamic economy to it. The theme, I feel like, is going to be the hardest part for me to get over. Like, the whole farming, agricultural theme is not my jam, but I feel like it has a really cool set of mechanisms tying into that cool economic puzzle that is very interactive with the other players. So I'm super excited to play Clans of Caledonia. Next up, Rock Hard 1977. I just got this one for Christmas. I love the theme of this. It's a worker placement game, and you're going to be trying to become you're an aspiring musician trying to make it big, right? Do some big concert shows and stuff. And maybe you're gonna consume some candy to give you some energy to really make it out and go to the nightclubs and stuff and meet some people to give yourself an advantage. But if you eat too much candy, you might have to rest in the morning a little bit because candy, it can wear you out the next day. So it has an interesting set of mechanisms, some cool themes. I really like worker placement, so I think it'll be a fun one to play. It looks like a pretty light one, so I can't wait to get that one to my table. Next up, a few that I have ordered that should be delivered in the next week or two, hopefully. I got Cross Bronx Expressway. Now, this is a GMT game, another kind of war game, and I've been having some fun with GMT games. Twilight Struggle I just talked about. Just a Robin Hood I've had some fun with. And war games are something it was questionable on how much I would enjoy them. Cross Bronx Expressway, though, has a really cool theme of trying to build this expressway through the Bronx. It's kind of going through that historical time period of trying to build this infrastructure in this already heavily populated area. And I think it's going to be best at 3 players, and you're playing as like the private, the public, and the government or something, something like that. And you're going to you have like this semi-cooperative objective where you want to keep the population like happy. You want to make sure people have places to live, but you also want to go for your own objectives during the game. So you have, it sounds like a unique mix of mechanisms. I just heard about it So Very Wrong About Games. I was so excited about it that I ordered it right away, and I was like, okay, yep, I got to play that. Next up is PAX. So PAX is one that's been getting some attention. I just got in stock recently, so I decided to pick it up. It gives me some King is Dead vibes, but it has an I Split You Choose mechanic for being aligned with those different factions and stuff, and doing a little area control thing on the board. Super excited about PAX. Next up, from the same company, I got this order at the same time. I just saw it. I was like, this sounds like a cool game. Corvids. Corvids is made by the same company as PAX, so I put it in the order at the same time. And it's this cool game where you're going to like dump out these cards in the center of the table, and then you get like these black tweezers that's representing your corvid, your bird beak. You're going to go and fish in that pile for stuff, and you're trying to like create this correct collection to fish in, and like I guess you can steal stuff from other players. Just sounds like a chaotic little fun filler game that I'm really excited to play, to be honest with you. I like the theme too. Corvids, like ravens and stuff. I think that's really cool. Next up that I have ordered as well, this is Wilmot's Warehouse. I've been looking at this game for a little while. This is a nice little cooperative memory game where you're going to be putting these tiles out, trying to create this story to remember where you put these tiles face down. Then at the end of the game, I think you're trying to like fulfill customer orders. So you're going to go through that story that you told to try to find these tiles that you put down to collectively win the game by selecting the right tiles for that customer order. Next up are some pre-orders that I have that should be here hopefully early 2026. First is Hunt for Blackbeard, and actually I'll talk about 2 at the same time. Hunt for Blackbeard and First Monday in October. So these are both from Fort Circle Games. As I mentioned, Votes for Women, I had a blast playing, and I really want to try out some more Fort Circle Games. Like I said, I don't always enjoy those super historical ones. And I like these more interesting theme ones. Like Hunt for Blackbeard is the pirate one, and it's going to have a bit of hidden deployment stuff with it for a head-to-head 2-player game. Just sounds like a cool theme. I like the piracy theme, so I'm excited to get that one to the table. Then First Monday in October is about the Supreme Court. This one's going to be, I think, 3 players is going to be the ideal player count, if I read correctly, where you're going to try to get your influence in the right areas and stuff. I think it's kind of a little area control game, get yourself on the right dockets and stuff. Just sounds like a really cool theme with that Supreme Court thing, and yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Votes for Women, having that uniqueness to it. So I'm excited to get that one played. Next one, hopefully early 2026 here, is going to be Dune War for Arrakis expansions. This one was a little questionable for a while, right? CMON has been not having the best of times, so, and they were not updating any of their campaigns. Everyone was like, are you going to deliver on this? What is going on with this? Like, Dune War for Arrakis was in pre-production, and then there was nothing for like 5 months or something. But they finally announced, they're like, hey, we're boxing things up. We're going to get them shipped soon. Now, I have a pre-order on a game website, so I don't have it through GameFound. We'll see how it works out. But it looks like, Desert War is going to ship, and I also backed Smugglers on that one, and I'm super excited to get these ones played because, as I mentioned, Dune War for Arrakis, it's like my #2 game of all time right now. I cannot wait to play those expansions. Next, and hopefully spring of 2026. It looks like they're gonna miss the Chinese New Year deadline. Once you hit the Chinese New Year, everything gets pushed out like two weeks at least. 2 weeks to a month. And this is gonna be Ice Unlimited. I had backed this game a while ago. They are very behind schedule, but yes, to be expected. Crowdfunding. Oh well. But this is one that has it's like a 3-layer board. I think the original version was like 5 layers or something, but people were like, this is so hard to set up. So now they've refined the game a little bit. This is like the version 2.0. I backed the expansion. I backed the all-in because I was really excited about this one. I've heard about this one for a while, and I can't wait to play this. It's like you growing out, you're gonna like dig down on these tiles, reveal these bonuses, and build these camps and stuff. It looks like a great time. Next up, another one that I'm hoping for early 2026 because they're a little behind schedule. And this is going to be Avalon, the Riven Vale. Now, this is published by Shadowborn Games, which is the creator of Oathsworn back there. That is the whole reason I backed this game is because I was like, oh, I love Oathsworn. I want to see what you guys do. I want to see other games created by you. I want to see if you can do it again. Can lightning strike twice for this studio, right? So that's why I'm super excited about Avalon, Riven Vale. And it's given me some Eric Lang vibes, right? It is an area control one where you're going to be putting out these units on the map. You have an asymmetric factions they're going to be controlling and stuff. So definitely giving me some Eric Lang vibes. And I love that, like Blood Rage and Ankh, great. Rising Sun, need to play again. Sorry. Next up, hopefully well, they have it listed for the summer. We'll see if that happens. Dogs of War. This is a reprint campaign. The whole play to Z plus shut up and sit down partnership. I've heard so much good stuff about Dogs of War that I really want to play it. Like, it seems like a really cool one. I love that you get player screens. I like the art that I'm seeing in the campaign. Just one that people have been waiting for a reprint. I'm one of those people. Can't wait for that one to be delivered. Now these ones are going to be in the fall here. We got August 2026, Secret Societies by Sean Phillips. This is a Garfield Games, This is, generally for Garfield Games, I'm not a huge fan of them. Like, I feel like they're always low interact. Well, they have some interaction. They're usually very Euro-y, lots of icons, lots of resources to manage, set collection, triangular scoring. I don't know. They've just never stood out as like my favorite games. They've been good, but not my go-tos. Secret Societies looks like an entirely different game. It has like auctions, player interaction, low downtime. Those are not terms that I usually associate with Garfield Games. So I decided to back this. We're going to see how it hits. Hopefully in August, but yeah, we'll see if that happens. Another one in August 2026 is going to be Container. This is just it's an economic game that, got a bunch of attention on Shut Up and Sit Down. Very hard to get these days. This is a reprint being done by Allplay. Looks great. They did some updates to the design and stuff. And I just like it. It just looks like a neat economic game. Like, I like Pipeline quite a bit. I'm excited to play Clans of Caledonia. So I don't have a lot of economic games in my collection, but I'm excited to give this one a shot. Next up, another one in August 2026, another one by Allplay, Sail Legacy. I really liked the Sail co-op trick taker. Sail Legacy, I am excited to see what they do with this. This is going to be, hopefully, I'll be done with Regicide Legacy by then. Well, definitely by then. And hopefully we'll be bringing out Sail Legacy with that friend, and we'll see how that one goes. So that's going to be a co-op trick taker, pirate themed. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Another one in August 2026 is going to be Camp Grizzly. This is a semi-cooperative survival game, giving me Nemesis vibes, much lighter, much campier, campy horror. So hopefully this one comes in before Halloween next year. That'd be really cool to get those played around that time. But I love the production. I love the theme of this one. The campy horror movie thing. Yeah, it looks like a fun time. I think some of my friends are going to hate it, but some of them I think are going to love it. Next up, October 2026. Just 2 more to go. We're almost there. This is going to be Final Titan. Now, this is being published by Nerd Labs. Looks like a little chaotic battle royale style game or cage match. Like, one person puts their person in the ring, then the next person puts their person in. Then you have a little dice roll off. Looks chaotic. Dice rolling combat, published by Nerd Labs. Agent Avenue, Mindbug are their other games, and I love both of them. So yeah, I'm excited to give Final Titan a play. Then lastly on my list here, October 2026 is going to be Satchel Quest. This is a bag building dungeon crawler, and this is going to be made by Tim Eisner, I have March of the Ants. I just got that one played recently, and I had a good time with it. I need to play it again to see how I really feel about the game. I had a good enough time to be like, oh, I do want to play this again. I'm not getting rid of it, but I don't know how it's going to last long term. But he's also got Wonderland's War, which I really like Wonderland's War with some caveats. So I'm excited to see what happens with Satchel Quest. Whew. Okay. If you made it this far, Thanks for sticking around. This was a super long video, a nice little wrap up here. I hope we gave you enough information on these games, and I hope I didn't ramble too long. But yeah, let me know what you guys played this last year. I would be more than happy to hear about like what games, if I didn't have it on my list and you're like, oh, you didn't play this game last year, oh, you should check this game out. Like I said, that Dracula vs. Van Helsing was a recommendation from someone. I'm so happy someone recommended that to me because I absolutely love it. So I love getting recommendations from you guys. Then also, if there are games you are looking forward to in 2026 that I didn't mention, let me know. I need to know what I need to be following so I know what to play and do reviews on next year. Yeah, so that's going to do it for today. Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for spending your time with me, and I will talk to you next time.